What is going on, everyone? My name is Protolink, and up until this point, we have been doing stuff that is rather simple. Let's do something that is marginally more complex. And by marginally more complex, I mean it's still simple, but it's slightly different than what we've been doing. So yeah, so let's go ahead and import our sprite for this. Now, I haven't mentioned it yet, but we're going to be doing the boomerang. So go ahead and select your tutorial weapons and change this to 4. And the size should be 16 by 16. And import those sprites. Zoom in, and you can see that it spins this fast. Now, this time we actually do want it to spin this fast, so we don't have to change that. But we do have to change the bounding box to be smaller than the sprite. Otherwise, the collision is going to act weirdly, and yeah. So yeah, let's go ahead and change this to 5. Yeah, I think so. 5, and then 10, and 10. That should be decent, at the very least. So let's go ahead and rename it to SPR Boomerang. And that's all we need for the sprite. Now, in order to create the object, let's just go ahead and create the object. You already know how to do that. Assign it the boomerang sprite. Now, this object is going to be set up a little bit weirdly. Up until this point, we have just been using the code, but now I want to show you how to set up the drag and drop system for movement. So, in the create event, we do need code first to set up a couple things. We need a variable called bReturn. And that is boomerang return, which is when it comes back. Set it equal to false. And then we need to set an alarm to 10. So this is all we need for that. Now, for the drag and drop system, if we put it in the create event, it'll actually be easier to set it up versus versus using code and putting it in a step event and having to check to see whether or not it's reached its destination. So in the create event, all we have to do is check a variable. So if you go down here, kind of diagonally down from the code, you'll see if a variable has a value, drag that over, and then in the variable field here, type global.facing. And this is the reason why we're using a global for our facing variable. This is for hero facing. So we're going to be checking the facing, and if it's equal to 0, then drag the top arrow and then the bottom arrow. This creates a block. You can think of blocks the same way as you think of this right here. This right here is technically a block, but it's that's what it looks like in code, and this is what it looks like in the drag and drop. So within the block, go to move, and where the red star type thing is, go ahead and drag that over in between the block, and then set the direction to left at and the speed of 12. And then go ahead and click save. Now this will check to see whether or not you're facing left, and if so, upon creation, it will move the boomerang in the left direction with a speed of 12. So go ahead and select the end block, and then hold down shift and click the variable. Then hold down control and hit C, select the end of the thing, click control V, and then for every time you have to paste these, you have to move the last block up to separate them. It's tedious, but oh well. And then all we have to do is change the facing variable. This is 1, so this is going to be up. So we need to change this to up. Make sure you unselect this arrow, because you can't actually select multiple arrows at once. But we don't want the left, we just want up. So up, and then you don't have to change the speed. And then same thing here. Make sure to drag that up. And then we'll change this to 2, which is to the right. So deselect up, select right, save. And for the last one, paste it, drag this up above the check. The arrows, the end of block things always go above the check, by the way. And then change this to 3, and that is down. So we will change this to down. And that is all we need for the boomerang movement. Now then, we need to add an alarm. So let's go ahead and add the alarm here. And the only thing that we're going to be doing within the alarm is we're going to do bReturn equals true. And we're also going to be doing speed equals 0. Okay, so this will halt the boomerang's movement when the alarm is up. And that will be that. Now then, in the step event, we need to drag a piece of code, and then here's what we're going to have to do in here. So the only thing that we're going to need in here is if not keyboard check, and then whatever key you're going to be using. That's not the correct thing. Keyboard, not keyord. Anyways, now if you don't want to use a letter, then I'll give you a couple more things that you could technically use. VK underscore tab is a key. L shift is the left shift. R shift is right shift. You could also use space, like that. You could also use control. I'm not sure how to actually, it might just be spelled out. It is. And then if you just type in shift, VK shift, then it will work regardless of which shift you use. That's why you have to type in L shift or right shift, or same thing for control. If you use control, then it will be both controls, but you can easily use R control or L control. Alt is also the same thing, pretty sure. Yes. So that's just a few keys that you could potentially use. Personally, I'm going to use the X key, so ORD, and then just like that. Then we need to use an OR case, or an OR symbol. So just like the AND symbol is 2 ampersands, the OR symbol is 2 bars. Now if you don't know where the bars are, it's basically, if you're looking at a standard keyboard, it's the key underneath the backspace key, the wider key underneath the backspace key. So all you have to do is hold down shift and hit the bar twice in order to get the OR symbol. If you're not using a standard keyboard, then you might have to look for it, but it's pretty much always in the same spot, so yeah. Now then, when you type in this, it's going to say if this is true, or whatever is after it is true. And what we're going to be putting here is bReturn equals true. So once we get all this in, we can open our branch here, and we can put in our action. Okay, so within our actions, all we need is move towards point, object hero.x, object hero.y, and the speed of 12. So this is going to be telling the thing that every step that this or this returns true. Oopsie, I did it again. Every step that this or this returns true, then it will do this. So there's that. Now we need collision events. So let's go ahead and click draw, replace, and we need collision with the hero first of all. And the only thing we need in here is the destroy the instance, so that is in main 1, and it's the trash can or recycle bin. And then all you have to do is drag it over and click save, because it's going to be destroying self, not object or other. So there's that. And another one we need is general collision. So when it hits the general collision, here's what it's going to do. So when it hits collision, it's going to do the exact same thing as the other thing. And that should be it for the boomerang. So let's go ahead and call it. In your object hero, in your step event, go ahead and open it up and go towards the bottom and go ahead and click right here, double tap, and then create another border here because we're going to set this above the sword swing. So we'll do boomerang call, and then here's what we're going to be doing. If keyboard check pressed ord x then within this branch, if instance number object boomerang is less than 1, then instance create object boomerang, and that should be it. So what this does is it checks first to see if you're pressing the X button, the X key. And then if you are, then it checks if there's one boomerang on the screen. So instance number is used to change, or it's used to check the instance, the number of instances of this particular object that is within the room. And right now we're checking to see if it is less than 1. And if it is, then it will create a boomerang. So silly me, I forgot to set the X and Y value for this. So all we have to do is X and Y, and that's it. So make sure you do instance create X, Y, object boomerang. Okay, so at the moment it is coming back too early, and this is because of the way we set it up. Okay, so upon further research, I know exactly what the issue is. So instead of putting the or be returned equals true, let us cut this out here, and then let's do this. If be return is equal to true, then it will do this. Whoopsie. Not sure why that did that. Anyways, so just change your if statement to look like this. Let's go all the way over here just to be sure. And there we have it. That is the boomerang in all of its glory. And since we have the sword completed as well, all except for that, because let's tweak that for a moment, because I want to move the sword off to the left a little bit. Okay, so go into your object hero. I lost track of myself for a second. Go to your object hero and scroll down to the sword to this one basically, and change the X to -2. No, -3. Let's try -3 first, because that might actually be better. That way, the player will look like he is poking the sword out with his right hand. And yes, that actually looks a lot better. Let's go ahead and move the sword in the up direction as well. So we'll do -3 there as well. I don't know, I don't really like that. But I think all it really needs is to move back a little bit. So let's change the Y value to -12. Or -8 rather, because it needs to be moved downward basically. Okay. It's a little bit better, maybe. Okay, so I think that is about it. We've got the boomerang done in this episode, so thank you all very much for watching, and if you enjoyed, then leave a like and comment if you really want to, and subscribe and share it with anyone that you think might be interested in learning this stuff. And I think that's about it. Thank you all very much for watching. Stay tuned for the next episode.